executives in this room. We're so excited to meet you, and we're excited to present our pitch for the project Remembrance. And Remembrance is a thriller mystery video game that discusses themes of trust, community, and the corrupting powers of unchecked ambition.
When a wary cult member wakes up with no recollection of his past, he desperately tries to retrieve his memories, only to discover the sinister truth in his own role in a series of disappearances.
It's not working. Sorry, guys.
There we go. I got it.
There we go.
So we have four key characters. Starting off, we have Bryden Davis. He's the protagonist, and you play as him in the game. He wakes up with no recollection of his past and is trying to regain his memories.
On the right of Brighton, we have Ernest, which is like the cult or community's founder / father, and he's in charge of facilitating like everything that goes on in the little commune, and he prioritizes his family members' happiness.
And right here is Dave, who's a bright and optimistic cult member, as well as Brighton's best friend. He helps him get reacclimated to his new life at the cult. Although he's not entirely sure of what Brighton's up to, he still does his best to help him along the way.
Okay. And lastly, we have Catherine. She's like the mother figure of the cult, and she makes sure that people in the cult don't get injured or harmed. And she also works as Ernest's right hand.
So we're gonna kick off the story with Act 1. And in the beginning, Brighton wakes up in an unfamiliar hospital bed with no recollection of any of his past memories. And he's greeted by his supposed best friend Dave, who tells him he's suffering from a memory loss and a head injury. And Dave helps reintroduce Brighton back into like the community. He meets Charlotte, this feisty little girl. He meets Linda, the nice nurse, and he meets Catherine, who is the mother of the community, as well as the head of the kitchen. And at night, Brighton decides to clear his head for a bit and like go outside and take a walk. When he takes a walk, he comes across this mysterious cathedral, as you can see on the left, and he decides to go in and explore for a bit. And as he walks onto the podium of the cathedral, he gets a flash of what seems to be his past memories. Those past memories are of him being tied up in a lab chair, and a mysterious, evil scientist is testing on his body. He wakes up from those memories, and frightened, he goes back to sleep, and he's curious to find out more.
In the morning, Brian goes to the daily sermon. There, he sees Ernest for the first time. He's charming and confident. Afterwards, Brighton follows Charlotte, who runs out after the sermon. As he approaches her while she's reading a book, he gets another flash from memory. This time, it's of his life before the cult. When he wakes up, Charlotte's completely disappeared.
Okay. So as Brighton gets more and more desperate for his memories, he's sort of losing himself. And in the hospital, Linda the nurse wants to check up on him and check on his head injury. But when she sticks a needle in his arm, he gets another flash of a memory. He gets upset and wants to know what's going on, so he gets into a fight with Linda. During this fight, Catherine walks in and catches him and locks him up in a cellar. What happens after this? They get into Brian manages to break out and takes down Catherine, and after taking her down, he finds the truth about his memories and now knows what he needs to do to bring justice to everyone.
That's where we'll end off for the little story. But if you want to find out more, please invest.
We're asking for $5 billion, which is a very small amount compared to how
it'll be a huge success, guys.
Yeah,
the best.
Very minimal.
Oh yeah, and here is This is Annie's book project, and it is Brighton. Do you want to explain it?
It's Brighton. There is a plot twist at the end which kind of explains this, but you have to invest the $5 billion to find out.
This is my movie poster remembrance, and I'll explain why it's like last shard. So basically, because it's a video game, we wanted to like represent like how you get these memories through like different items, and we wanted to make those items into like shards, where the shards are like how you can see those past memories, and it's like of the different characters like reflecting. Yeah.
I'll do a reflection first. I think one of our biggest challenges was whenever someone came up with an idea, someone else would immediately go, oh, but that would mean, or we'd find a plot hole almost immediately. And that could be really frustrating because it was like, oh, all these loose ends. But it really helped us solidify our story in the end and like keep it compact and make sure we don't have any plot holes. Also, all our characters have really basic names. So we always got confused. It was so difficult because they're all in a cult, right? So we were like, oh, keep it basic, but we figured it out.
Okay, this game was actually inspired by an existing game called Off. We took a lot of like inspiration from its gameplay and its like story writing. The twist at the end is also similar to the twist in Off.
Yeah. One thing we really enjoyed about the project is how we made it into a video game, because instead of doing like a book or like a movie, I feel like we were able to explore like different aspects of a video game and include them in our story. For example, like it wasn't really explained in our side, but we include like different items that you can gain throughout like the story, and those like items can help you later like in a side quest or like in the actual quest. As well as like at the end, this is a little spoiler, but basically you get like 2 options and you have like 2 alternative endings that like the player gets to choose, and like it changes like the fate of the story completely.
Hey, Nintendo executives.
Question time.
Should we turn it this way? So start with
Oh,
like
yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 questions. What's the rating of this game?
Ooh, the
I
rating.
think it's rated R.
Yeah, I
So, plus?
PG-13 or R, maybe.
So, why are you choosing Nintendo instead of PlayStation or Xbox? 'Cause we're known for our family-friendly gaming,
Oh.
in which we enslave Pokemon to do battling for us.
We love the like mechanics of Mario Kart and all the, you know, we love the joystick movement, the ABX triangle. So, you know, that was our choice.
This was
And we
also
just
like a
love you guys,
3DS game.
executives. So, yeah.
Chance.
So before I invest the $5 billion, what is the gameplay going to exactly look like, and what console will you exactly release it on?
It was like we planned to like release it on like the 3DS, so like we'll have like the dialogue, and then like at the top, I forgot how 3DS works, but at the top, at the bottom it's like map and inventory and stuff like that. And what was your other question?
What is the gameplay going to exactly look like?
So yeah, it's like this, and if you guys like played like any of like the older Pokemon games or like what other games? Undertale, Omori, like stuff like that. It's like it functions the same way, where like you go around and it's like pixelated. Yeah. Katie?
What's the third act?
Oh, third act. Who wants to go into it? Kai, you want to go? Because I know you're really
I guess. Okay. So in the third act, I think once Bryden defeats like Catherine and learns like the truth about everything, and that Ernest was actually the one who was like behind all the drugs and drugging the members and drugging him.
Yeah.
So he goes to like try and confront Ernest, but Dave gets in his way. He notices, I think we said like he carries like one of Catherine's like items, like a hair clip or something from Catherine, and Dave sees it and it's like, what'd you do to Catherine? And they end up getting into an altercation, and Bryden defeats Dave. after defeating Dave, they like crash through the ceiling of the floor of the cathedral, which ends up like revealing the entire like drug lab that Ernest has, and Ernest is in there trying to make a like strong version of a drug to like allow him to fight back against Bryden. And at this point, when Ernest sees Bryden in like after he crashes through the floor, the player gets like an option to either fight as Ernest or fight as Bryden. If you fight as Bryden, you defeat Ernest and basically everyone in the cult is sort of like demolished, whatever. And if you choose to fight as Ernest, you see that Bryden isn't actually like who we originally thought he was. He like turned into this like monstrous creature and had been like killing off all the members of the group. And it was like the drug that kept him from seeing like the truth of what he was doing.
And Ernest drugs all the cult members to keep them like docile, to make sure they don't revolt, but they don't work as well on Brian. Yeah. Felicia?
Did Brian end up killing like the little girl?
Charlotte?
Yeah.
That's what happened. Yeah, because you don't want to expose it. In the game, it's really.
You find out as you play on that like all these like cult members are starting to go missing, and that's when you really start to suspect like, oh, like Brian's like at the scene of all these crimes. It's like, is he the one doing the killing?
Then sure.
So throughout the game we're playing as Brighton, and then at the end you can choose to like switch.
Brighton. Yeah, and that'll expose who Brighton is. And then Owen.
There's not really a question, but more like a comment. I feel like this is like a Black Mirror episode. Like that's what I was like envisioning, and then when I saw the posters, I was like, oh my god.
Black Mirror. Felicia.
So is there any kind of like purpose like the cult has? Like is there any kind of like
the outside world is like in like ruin in this world setting, and Ernest sort of like built up the cult as a way to like preserve like safety and whatever. And I think it's like has to do with Ernest's backstory too. We didn't end up including it here, but Ernest basically he had like a family, a wife, and like a child. They end up like I think they like died or something.
Yeah, they died.
And Ernest is like super traumatized by it, and ends up becoming like twisted, trying to create his family again.
Yeah.
And that's where like the cult comes in, and Catherine is like, Catherine's like the replacement wife basically. So both of them like work together to like manage the cult, which is like the children basically.
What drives Ernest to do this is because like he wants to like keep his like kind of false idea of like his past family, and that's why like that's what's prompting him to like drug all these like members, because he wants to. By the way, the drug makes people like forget about their past memories, which is why Brighton was infected in the first place. Mm-hmm. And he Ernest drugs the cult members so that like they won't betray him, and like they'll like stay loyal and like think like, oh, I didn't have like a past life before, so I'm gonna stay in this cult.
But
No, go ahead.
But not all of them are like Brighton is the only person that's like kind of like twisted in that same way. Like,
or he's like a special case because like everyone else was like the drug worked effectively on them, but for Brighton, he was able to recall those memories, and that's why like he turned like it had like side effects that make him kind of like a monster.
Jensen?
So has Brighton been there for like a while?
Brian has been there before. We're not exactly sure like how long before, but he has been there before you wake up in the scene. He actually did discover Ernest's lab before, which is the memory of him getting tied up that gets recalled. But yeah, him and Dave have all been living in the cult before the whole game starts. Sofa?
Do we know like what the reason is that the drugs don't work on him, or is it just like he's the main character?
He's the main character, plot armor, yeah. Just strong. Yeah, Katie?
I know that at the end you can switch like to Ernest or stay as Brighton, and if you switch to Ernest, you'll like see that he's like not Ernest, that Brighton's like a monster. But does Ernest win in that scenario?
Well, it's
I think Ernest wins if you play as Ernest.
Yeah, because it's you're the one who's playing. I mean, if you get defeated, then you gotta try again. Yeah.
So like you can win as either.
Yeah. Depending on who you choose, yeah.
Is there like a good ending and a bad ending, or are they both pretty
Didn't we say
They're both a little depressing.
I
It's
think
like
one of them is like, I think because the drug makes it so that Bryden can't see that he's actually like killing all these people. They just like knocking them out to like subdue them. So in his mind, everyone is still like alive and the cult is fine, and he's like liberating them from like the oppressor who's Ernest. So in one ending, I forget like something, you can like get this item that allows you to see all the damage you caused. And if you end up playing as Bryden and defeating Ernest, you don't see all the destruction. And you just see like the happy cult, like everyone's still alive. But if you play as Ernest, then you see
the destruction. And then you end up holding a memorial for all the people that have died, including Bryden. And then in Bryden's ending, he ends up walking out of the cult and seeing the ruin of the outside world, but for the first time his head feels clear and he's not foggy anymore.
So I'm not trying to play a good ending. But
Yeah, they're both kind of sad. Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned this, but like, wait, did we mention like basically when Bryden kills like people or like the people in the cult, that's how he gets like more of his memories, which is why he's like going out killing all the cult members.
Thank you.